Ohio Republicans tried to make it harder to vote in 2012, but got smacked down by the courts. So now they're trying again when they think no one's watching. I'll tell you how they did it next.
We decided to settle this. A steel cage death match of mid-size sedans. The Volkswagen Passat against all comers. Turbocharged engines against engines. Best-in-class rear legroom against other class legroom. But then we realized consumers already did that. Twice.
Huh. Maybe that's why nobody else showed up. How does one get out of a death cage?
Hurry in and lease the 2014 Passat for $189 a month. Visit VWDealer.com today.
In the nation, we reward safe driving. Add Vanishing Deductible from Nationwide Insurance and get $100 off for every year of safe driving. We put members first. Join the nation.
Nationwide is on your side.
I have a cold with this annoying runny nose. I better take something.
Dayquil Cold and Flu doesn't treat all that.
It doesn't?
Alka-Seltzer Plus fights your worst cold symptoms. Plus has a fast-acting antihistamine.
Oh, what a relief it is.
Our democracy demands that we all take that first step forward. Join in.
Introducing the new MSNBC.com.
Republicans in Ohio have just now enacted 2 laws that make it harder to vote in Ohio. The Republican-controlled House passed the bills along party lines Wednesday, and today, Governor John Kasich signed them into law. These were bills passed by the Senate in November of last year. Senate Bill 238 eliminates 6 days of early voting to 29 days, down from 35. And the significance of that is that those 6 days are referred to as the Golden Week, when Ohio citizens can both register to vote and cast an in-person absentee ballot. Senate Bill 205 alters the process by which absentee ballots are mailed. More on that in a moment. The measures will take effect in 90 days after the primary election, and the timing here is interesting. Because the last time Ohio Republicans tried to pull a similar stunt was during the 2012 presidential election. But the Obama re-election campaign filed a complaint, and a federal judge ordered Ohio to allow early voting on the 3 days prior to the election. The judge ordered Republican Secretary of State Jon Husted not to enforce a state law Republicans had pushed that closed that window to anyone but members of the military and their families. So now, having lost that, having been caught red-handed in the glare of a presidential campaign under the relative cover of an off-year election, Republicans have pushed through another restriction on early voting, counting on limited press attention. Bear in mind that Republicans nationwide are usually clamoring on about voter ID laws, which they justify by way of the mythos they've created of an alternate universe with rampant election fraud. It is on that thin reed voter ID laws are often hung. Laws that are obviously and manifestly about reducing the amount of people voting. But here we have the good Republicans of Ohio really dispensing with that kind of pretext. They are just reducing early voting because they can. As for eliminating that Golden Week, the bipartisan Ohio Association of Election Officials has contended that allowing people to register and vote on the same day makes it difficult to properly validate those voters. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Ed Fitzgerald said, quote, "I don't know what the problem this is allegedly solving. They want to try to make it harder for certain folks in this state to vote, and everyone sees through it." Joining me now is Ohio Democratic State Representative Alicia Reese. Representative, is there any evidence to indicate that there was a problem with the Golden Week that has now been eliminated? Was there some evidence of fraud? Was there some evidence of any kind of systemic malfeasance or abuse?
No, there was no evidence in that regard. The only evidence that is present is that more people participated in this last election. More people came out to vote. Students, low-income families, women, African Americans, and other minorities came out to vote. And that is the problem that the Republicans are trying to solve.
The governor's spokesperson, Rob Nichols, noted that the changes to absentee voting rules will make them more uniform, and also said about getting rid of the early voting that week of early voting. Ohio has more early voting than 40 other states after we sign these bills. So what are you complaining about?
You know, we are in a war on voting rights, and Ohio is ground zero. We've got two major things that has to happen. One, we have to have new leadership at the Secretary of State office, and that's why we're excited about the candidacy of Senator Nina Turner. Second, we've got to have a voter bill of rights, because as you can see, this is just a few bills, but we've had over 15 that's been introduced, more on the way, a different voter suppression or disenfranchisement type of bill that's being introduced on a weekly or monthly basis. And it's time now for the citizens to have an opportunity to be involved in the democracy by putting a voter bill of rights in the Constitution. And so while the governor was signing these terrible bills into law, we were on the streets with petitions this weekend to get a voter bill of rights in the Ohio Constitution. And we need everyone from across the country, because if we don't fight back, they will push us back. And so we have to be as relentless as Republicans are to take away our voting rights. We have to be just as relentless to put voting rights in the Constitution where it's permanent. And so that's what we're doing here in Ohio as we are at ground zero.
Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights conducted a study looking at a Cuyahoga County map from 2012. That was a study of the 2008 returns. And it shows that how the limits to early voting work. And you see the places where they most impact voters are in the places that are disproportionately African American. That is not an accident to your mind.
No, it's not, and that's why I'm president of the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus, and we have been working with a coalition of progressive Ohioans to fight back, because there is a movement, whether it's the targeting of billboards that were placed in urban and African-American communities, one actually across the street from where I live, whether it was a polling location, which was in my district that was predominantly African-American, where it took 2 years for the votes to be counted in a judicial race. This is serious. There is a war on voting rights, and we have to fight back, and that's why we believe the only way to do this is to have a voter bill of rights that we can put in the Ohio Constitution and let the everyday person, all citizens of Ohio, have a voice at the polls, and that's what we plan to do here in Ohio.
Do you think there's any price to be paid politically for this? Is this the kind of thing that obviously there's certain voters that are going to be very attuned to this, the folks that are watching our network right now and folks that you're in contact with, but do you think there's a broader political price to be paid for this for the Republicans pushing this through?
I think so, because when you talk about voting rights, you're talking about people who died, black and white in this country, who sacrificed, who stood up, who had dogs turned on them, blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This is not just an issue. This goes deeper to the individual person. This is the lifeline to democracy, and so this is serious. And certainly there's a price to be paid, as we know. Dr. King is in the grave right now because there was a price to be paid, and so we must stand up and we must be relentless. You know, they keep bringing bills back and forth. We have called for a moratorium on all future bills for voting rights until the people, we the people, have an opportunity to stand up, fight back, and have a voice at the polls on a voter bill of rights.
Ohio Democratic State Representative Alicia Reese, thanks for your time tonight.